Alright guys, we are reading The Strangers from Haddix, and we are going to start on chapter 7 with Finn. Finn could smell the French toast as soon as he woke up. Special breakfast, he shouted. It's a special breakfast day? Is school canceled? Is it a snow day or a holiday nobody told me about? He jumped out of bed, raced out into the hall. Emma was standing sleepily in her own doorway, sniffing the air. It's 68 degrees out, she said. Finn was pretty sure she knew that because of a weather app, not from the smell of the air, but there was no telling with Emma. Okay, it's not a snow day, Finn admitted. Not a holiday either, Emma said sadly. She leaned in close and whispered, "It might be a bad news special breakfast." Finn remembered that the last time Mom had made French toast, it was because she had gotten overwhelmed with her job and had to work an entire Saturday. That French toast was like an apology for not taking the kids to the park. There shouldn't be any such thing as bad news special breakfast, Finn said. It's going to make me stop liking maple syrup. You'll never stop liking maple syrup, Emma said. That was probably true. Finn was pretty sure he'd be able to drink it by the gallon if Mom ever let him. I think it's going to be about good news, he said. Maybe they found those kids in Arizona and Mom's celebrating. Finn expected Emma's face to light up at that idea, but she stayed serious. Finn, don't worry about those other kids, she said. Chess, Emma, Finn, Mom called from downstairs. Are you all up and moving? I'll wake up Chess, Finn shouted back. He realized Emma had yelled the same thing, and they both took off running for Chess's room. Normally, Chess was the first one up, so this was a treat too. As soon as he shoved past Chess's door, Finn launched himself forward towards the bed. Time for breakfast, he shouted as he landed. He bounced up and down with each word. Beside him, Emma yelled, "Get up, get up, get up, get up." Her bounces coordinated perfectly too. We should be in the Olympics, Finn said, giggling. Mom should sign us up for gymnastics. We'd win all sorts of medals. He braced himself for Chess to push him off and Emma off the bed. Maybe Chess would growl like a bear and pretend to be angry, and then they could have mocked wrestling match before breakfast. But Chess just lay there. He blinked once, then twice. He had dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't gotten enough sleep. But he had the whole night for sleeping. Chess, Finn said, tugging on his brother's arm. Talk to me, dude. Let me know you're in there. Finn saw Chess's faces change, as if someone had flipped a switch. One moment he looked groggy and sad and just wrong. With those circles under his eyes, Finn might have even said Chess looked old, which was crazy. The next moment, Chess had a goofy grin plastered on his face, but even that felt wrong. "Error, matey who dares to disturb the pirate captain's slumber," Chess growled, which was from a book Finn had loved when he was little. Normally this would have been just as much fun as the bear growl and wrestling match, but something was wrong with Chess this morning. He wasn't just pretending or acting, it was more like he was pretending to pretend, and acting like he was acting. He had layers, lots of them. What if he had always been true about Chess, and Finn had just never noticed before? What if noticing was a sign that Finn was growing up? Finn kind of wanted to tell Chess and Emma this. Maybe both of them would sling their arms over their shoulders and say, Grasshopper, let us initiate you into this stage of growing up. We're so proud of you. Neither of us figured out anything like that until we were 9. But Finn kind of didn't even want to think about it. Mom poked her head into Chess's room just then. She put a stack of laundry on Chess's dresser. "Come on, kids, let's get moving." She said, "As soon as you're all dressed, I have a special breakfast ready for you." "It's because you have bad news, isn't it?" Finn blurted out. "We're having bad news French toast. Like that day we couldn't go to the park." For a moment, it seemed like Mom had been wearing a mask, and the mask slipped. It was almost like how Chess's face had changed, except in reverse. For just that one moment, it looked like Mom might start crying, the way really little kids did, with a trembling lip, huge puddles of tears in each eye, but then Mom smiled and came over and ruffled his hair. "You're on to me, huh?" she said. "I guess I'll have to save the French toast for good news days from now on. Anyhow, it's not really bad news, just spit it out," Emma demanded. On a normal day, Mom probably would have scolded Emma for how sassy and disrespectful that sounded. But today, Mom just gulped and smiled harder. "I found out this morning that I have to go away for a few days, for work. I'm sorry." "Oh, that's not so bad," Finn said, and maybe he was acting, wearing a mask a little bit too. Mom didn't travel for her job very often, but when she did, Finn always felt strange the whole time. even when he was at school and wouldn't have seen her anyhow. Tell you what, you can make French toast every day between now and then to make it up for us. Mom laughed, but it sounded especially fake and sad. Finn, this is really last minute, she said. I have to leave today. How about if we have bad news French toast today and then a celebration breakfast when I get back? When will that be, Mom? Chess asked. Chess wasn't one of those kids who yelled at adults. Neither was Finn or Emma. And Chess actually spoken more quietly than usual, not louder. But Finn got a picture in his mind of Chess slashing a sword through the air and driving its points into the ground, like someone issuing a dare. Finn glanced quickly back and forth between Mom and Chess. They both looked perfectly normal for a Tuesday morning. Chess's hair was smashed on one side, sticking out on the other. He was wearing his Lakeside Elementary Safety Patrol shirt over his pajama bottoms. Mom had on old Ohio State University sweatshirt that once belonged to their dad, along with old jeans and a rip in the knee that had happened because she had worn them a lot, not because she bought them that way. Her hair, which was just as dark and curly as Emma's, was pulled back into a messy ponytail. Still, Finn felt like a little bit like he was watching strangers. Mom started acting like she really needed to go straighten one of the pictures on Chess's wall above his bed. I'm not quite sure when I'll be back, she said as far as she reached for the frame. She kept her head turned away for the kids. Things are a little up in the air. I may not even be able to call home every day. Mom had turned into a stranger. She didn't leave things up in the air. Whenever she went away, she left behind a list of what she was doing every day and exactly where she would be, and how the kids or their babysitter could reach her every single minute, even if her cell phone broke. Finn stopped feeling like he'd reached a new stage of growing up. No matter how much he tried to hold back, his bottom lip started to tremble. Chapter 8, Emma. Hello? Mom? Don't you see you're going to make Finn cry? Emma wanted to shout. You do not do that to a second grader right before school. So you'll have Mrs. Rabinski stay with us while you're away? Emma asked quickly. Mrs. Rabinski was an old grandmotherly type who made no secret of the fact that Finn was her favorite of the three. The idea of even just one afternoon and evening with Mrs. Rabinski, asking constantly, what would you like for dinner, Finn? Finn, could you tell us more about your day at school? Do you want me to read you a bedtime story, Finn? Kind of turned Emma's stomach. But she wasn't going to complain if it would cheer Finn up now. Actually, no, Mom said. She had her face turned to the side, but Emma could see that Mom was biting her lip. I'm still working out those arrangements too. Like I said, this just came up. You know, I'll cancel the trip if I can't be sure the three of us or you will be all right. So why don't you just cancel the trip already? Finn asked eagerly. If it's not that important, if it's cancelable. Mom didn't laugh and tell him that cancerable was not a word. Finn, she began. Two things can be important at the same time, Chess said tonelessly. Mom's job and spending time with us both. Emma glanced over her shoulder at her older brother. Chess was just quoting an explanation Mom gave all the time. But did he actually think that was going to help when he sounded so much like he was reading from a script? Emma waggled her eyebrows warningly at Chess and mouthed at him, sound normal. The truth was, sometimes she, Chess, and Mom all acted like Mrs. Rabinski, as if taking care of Finn and keeping him happy was the most important thing. I think Mom's going to have some big adventure, Emma announced, and she'll bring back some great stories and presents. This time, Mom did laugh, but it was an odd laugh, one that trailed off awkwardly. Emma, I'm just meeting with a client in Chicago who needs a lot of hand-holding, she said. I don't think it'll be much of an adventure, but I will bring presents, okay? She looked down at the clock on Chess's bedside table. Now seriously, everyone, move. They all scattered for frenzy of clothes changing, face washing, teeth brushing. Emma skipped combing her hair because she wanted to be the first one down to the kitchen. She had a secret, and she hadn't quite decided yet if she wanted to tell Mom. Last night, after everyone had gone to bed, Emma had crept back out of her room, gone downstairs, and slipped Mom's cell phone out of her purse. Disapprovingly, Mom was one of those parents who thought kids should wait until middle school before getting phones of their own. She also didn't like the idea of looking at a screen right before bedtime, so Emma had to be sneaky. She typed in the password, which Mom probably didn't know Emma knew, and then, sitting alone in the dark, Emma had looked up everything she could about those kids in Arizona. They actually had been kidnapped on Friday, so 3 whole days had passed while 3 kids named Rochester, Emma, and Finn in Ohio had no idea that 3 other kids named Rochester, Emma, and Finn had been kidnapped in Arizona. That was weird. It seemed like Chess, Emma, and Finn should have known instantly about everything that happened to their Arizona doubles. Like Emma should have felt a twinge in her side when she was sitting in social studies class and realized, oh no, the other Emma Grace is in danger. It felt like Chess, Emma, and Finn should have known all along that those other kids existed. Emma found a site dedicated to missing children. She tested herself looking at the page about the Emma from Arizona. Why does this make me feel so weird? Would I feel this way if Emma Chang, Emma Pulaski, Emma Jones from school were kidnapped? She would feel sad about any kidnapped kid, but she would feel even more sad if it was someone from her school regardless of the kid's name. Just being from her school was enough of a link. Emma had the name Emma had her entire life. She was used to sharing it with other girls. She wasn't used to sharing it with another Emma, who also had an older brother named Rochester and a younger brother named Finn. Not when they also had matching birthdays. She tried to make herself feel better staring at all the details about Emma, Arizona Emma. That was different. Look, Arizona Emma is only about 4'5", not 4'7" like me. She weighs 5 pounds less, too. When Emma clicked over to the other kids' information, she saw that the kidnapped boys' heights and weights were different from Chess and Finn's. That made sense. Chess was taller than practically every other boy his age. Finn was one of the shortest kids in his class. Emma zoomed in on the picture of the 2 kidnapped brothers, which hadn't looked at closely before. The younger boy's ears tilted slightly, making him look a little elfin, just like Finn. Other Finn had the same mischievous gleam in his eye, too. Rocky Gustano held one eyebrow higher than the other, as if he hadn't expected the picture to be taken just then. Chess always looked surprised in pictures, too. Both boys and other Emma, too, had skin a shade or 2 darker than any of the Greystone kids, but that could just be living from in Arizona, where there was more sunshine, or it could just be the way pictures show up on the phone screen. If the Gustano and Greystone kids were standing side by side, maybe their skin tones would look identical. Maybe their hair and eye colors would too. None of these details are things I can count, Emma told herself, but with things that are numbers like height and weight, I could throw those into the equation. If I wanted to calculate the odds of those kids having so much in common with us, and it really bothered Emma that she couldn't calculate the odds because of not knowing all the possible names in the world. Because without that, she kept thinking, this isn't random. There are too many similarities. We're connected to those Arizona kids somehow. That was what she wanted to tell Mom. Even if she had to confess that she'd used Mom's phone without permission, but when Emma reached the kitchen, she found Finn already sitting at the table, digging French toast slices out of the dishes where Mom had keeping them warm, and Chess arrived right on her heels. Emma, your hair, Mom said. She pressed her hands against her own head, moving them outward, pantomiming an explosion. That probably was what Emma's hair looked like. She hadn't actually checked the mirror. It's the humidity, isn't it? Mom said sympathetically. Jess, you go ahead and start eating. Emma and I'll go back upstairs and work on our hair together. Perfect, Emma thought. She'd have Mom to herself, but just then Mom's phone pinged. Mom yanked it out of her purse and gave a relieved sigh. You don't have to go to Chicago after all? Finn said, hopefully. Syrup dripped from his forkful of French toast and rolled down towards the dimple in his right cheek. No, sorry, I do, Mom said. She quickly typed something into her phone. It's just now I know who's taking care of you 3 while I'm away, she said. Yes, the perfect person. Who? Jess said. Emma saw Mom hesitate before she looked up from her phone. Mom glanced at the clock on the stove and then she put down the phone, pulled the rubber ponytail out of her own hair, scooped Emma's hair back and wrapped the rubber band around it. Sorry, Emma, I think we've got to go with the quick fix today, Mom said. She reached over and turned the water into the sink, cupped her hand into the faucet, and then slid that hand over Emma's hair, smoothing down all the strays, locks. There, now go eat. Who's staying with us? Emma repeated Chess's question, as she sat down and began filling her plate alongside him. Do you remember Mrs. Morales, who was the PTO president at Lakeside the year before last? Mom said. Why would we? Chess asked. You're making us stay with a stranger? Finn wailed. Mom looked back at her phone, but not before Emma caught a glimpse of Mom's face. Is Mom panicking? Emma wondered. Emma felt like she was trying to solve some huge math problem that didn't involve numbers but peoples and events and the kidnapped kids in Arizona. Mom's unexpected business trip, and now this, the unknown babysitter. Mom's panic. None of it felt random. Mom's trip is connected to the Arizona kids somehow, Emma thought, and even though she doesn't want to, she's leaving us with some woman we don't even know because Emma didn't know the answer to that part. What if this was like the kind of huge math problems that Emma had gotten around to studying yet? The ones that didn't actually have any solutions. Chapter 9. Chess. Chess should never have gone back to bed last night. He should have continued down the basement stairs and turned on the lights and said, "Mom, I heard you on the phone. What did you mean when you said, 'This is exactly what I was afraid of'? And not yet. Do you think Emma and Finn are in danger of being kidnapped too? What's going on?" He'd almost done that. He'd even touched his toes to the next step down, but then he'd heard Mom sniffle. It was definitely an "I'm about to cry" sniffle, and that made Chess freeze. What if this has something to do with Dad? That was the only reason Mom ever cried. After that day when the police officers came to the door, Chess remembers lots and lots of nights when he woke up and heard Mom crying. As a 4-year-old, he'd go curl up beside her and try to wipe away her tears. Then one night she said, "Chess, this helps me, but I'm not sure if it's good for you. Whenever you're sad, please come and tell me. You can cry on my shoulder anytime you want, but you really shouldn't have to comfort me all the time. You're only 4. After that, Chess had started pretending he didn't hear her crying. He made himself stay in bed whenever he heard weeping, not because he wanted to, but because he knew it made Mom sadder if he was sad too. All of that had happened 8 years ago, but still just that one sniffle last night had made Chess move his foot back from the stair below. It had made him decide, "I'll ask Mom about everything tomorrow when she's not crying. First thing in the morning when I get up before Emma and Finn." And then he'd actually slept later than Emma and Finn, and now Mom was leaving. And just as his job last night had been to keep from making Mom sadder, he knew that now she was counting on him to keep Emma and Finn from freaking out about having to stay with a stranger. "Mrs. Morales is the woman Finn always called Perfume Lady," Mom said, sounding desperate. "Remember? Because he said she smelled good?" "Oh, right," Chess said, even though he didn't remember Finn and Emma had puzzled looks on their faces too. "So she'll make our house smell like perfume?" Finn asked doubtfully. "No, the 3 of you are going to stay at her house." Mom said they'd never done that before with a babysitter. "You know she has a daughter too. It wouldn't be fair to make them uproot their lives when they're doing a favor for us." "So there's some strange kid we have to get used to, too?" Chess wanted to wail. It'd be fine for Emma and Finn. Finn got along with everybody. Emma didn't care whether people liked her or not. But being around people he didn't know always made Chess feel like he had to be on his best behavior. It wasn't like he was the worst behavior was ever that bad. But being on good behavior wasn't relaxing. "Mrs. Morales will pick you up after school. You know what that means, don't you? We get to wear the same clothes and never brush our teeth the whole time you're away?" Finn asked, a gleam in his eye, "because we're going to her house after that, not ours, staying there until you get back." Finn's actually going to be okay with this, Chess thought in amazement. He's acting like it'll be an adventure. Of course, Finn hadn't heard Mom in the basement last night saying, "This is exactly what I was afraid of." "No, you don't get to rewear clothes and have dirty teeth," Mom said briskly. "I'll pack suitcases for each of you and give them to Susanna." She glanced at the kitchen clock for probably the 5th time since Chess had stepped into the room. "So what does it mean that Mrs. Morales is picking us up after school?" Emma asked. Chess knew it was wrong, but he was glad that she sounded sulky. Maybe Emma and Chess together could get Mom to explain what was going on. They just needed to get Finn out of the kitchen so they could ask. "It means you get to use the code word," Mom said. "Remember the code word?" "Succotash," Finn shouted. "I get to tell Mrs. Morales I like succotash." "No, silly," Emma said. "Get it straight. She has to say succotash first. It wouldn't be much of a code if you told her what it was." Mom had gone to some special parents meeting a year or 2 ago about keeping kids safe. She'd come home determined that the kids all know a code word any adult could say to them to prove that they were trustworthy. Together, the 3 kids, mostly Emma and Finn, had decided that succotash was the best word to use. Because Emma had explained, nobody who's going to kidnap you would promise, "Hey, little kid, would you like some succotash?" No kid's going to get kidnapped because they love corn and lima beans so much. The family had turned it into a big joke that night. Finn had decided that succotash was the funniest word in the universe, and Emma and Finn had started taking turns pretending to be kidnappers. They'd even written fake ransom notes asking for millions of dollars, and then, just to be silly, millions of dollars worth of succotash. A kidnapper would have to be crazy to think we were rich enough to pay ransom, Emma had laughed. It was true. The Greystones weren't rich. But last night in the basement, Mom said, not yet, like she thought we were in danger of being kidnapped. Chess thought, more danger because of those other kids with their names being kidnapped. His stomach roiled. He put his forkful of French toast back on his plate. 2 years ago, even as Finn and Emma laughed and laughed and laughed, Mom had tried to explain that she wasn't really worried about kidnappers. It's just a precaution, she said, because what if my car breaks down sometimes when I'm supposed to pick you up, and somebody else has to do it for me? I just want you to know who's trustworthy and who isn't. That's all. Because Mom is really all we have, Chess thought. Other kids have 2 parents and sometimes even 3 or 4. They have grandparents, aunts and uncles and cousins, or even brothers or sisters who are already grown up, except for Mom. The only relatives the Greystone kids had were each other. The only ones who were still alive, anyway. Now Chess really wasn't hungry. He pushed back the table. Okay, Mom began, so I've told you about Mrs. Morales, your suitcases, and the code word, and we're taking Rocket with us? Finn asked. The family cat had just come strolling into the kitchen, and he flicked his tail twice, as if to say, what, were you going to forget about me? Oh, Susanna's allergic to cats, Mom said. She squinted her eyes and twisted her mouth, as if she was just now trying to figure out what to do about Rocket. I guess I'll leave him with lots of food. I'll tell Susanna to bring one of you over here every other day to clean his litter box. Emma scooped Rocket into her arms even after that meant his tail got dangerously close to the pool of syrup on her plate. What if Rocket's lonely? She moaned. We should come every day just to keep him company. No, Mom said sharply. That's asking too much of Susanna. She's already doing us a big favor. We don't want to inconvenience her any more than we have to. Emma had her face buried in Rocket's gray fur. Finn was watching syrup drip from his fork, so Chess was the only one who saw the way Mom's face quivered. Then she caught Chess watching her. Her expression softened. I just want you to be considerate, she said. I know you'll pick up after yourselves, offer to help anytime you can, and sounds like this is going to be an inconvenience to us, Finn asked. Mom turned her back on all 3 kids. Chess watched carefully to see if her shoulders started quaking, but she just stood still for a minute, and she turned the water on in the sink. Oh, 5 minutes until the bus arrives, she called out over the sound of rushing water. Let's clean off the table and get a move on. Normally Mom would have helped. Normally she would have noticed that Chess had barely eaten 2 bites and that Finn had licked the syrup off his second piece of French toast, but not actually bitten into it. Normally she would have noticed that a few unruly locks of Emma's hair were already slipping out of the ponytail rubber band. Emma had started absently-mindedly twirling one of them around her finger. In a few minutes, Emma's hair would probably look as messy as Albert Einstein's again, even as her brain was trying to solve quantum physics, or the mysterious of time travel, or some other mathematical or scientific conundrum. Mom, look at us, Chess wanted to yell, but he didn't. She didn't turn around, and in no time at all, the 3 kids had cleared the table, loaded the dishwasher, and hurried to the front door to grab their backpacks. At least Mom followed them to the door. She lifted the backpack strap over Finn's shoulder and then hugged each of them in turn. Have a good day at school, she said. Her arms around first Finn, then Emma. Be good for your teachers, and Mrs. Morales. She could be any mother anywhere in the world, saying goodbye to her kids headed to school any day of the week. But then she got to Chess. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders, engulfing him in his overstuffed backpack. With her mouth near his right ear, she whispered, and don't forget anything. Chess pulled back. Wait, what? He said, confused. He peered into his mother's face. Did you just say? But Mom was already turning his shoulders, aiming him towards the front door. Finn had opened it and was already leaping off the front porch, skipping all the steps, and Emma was holding the door open for Chess. Mom gave Chess a gentle shove. Go on, she said. Don't worry. Mom, Emma began, but Mom shook her head and reached for the door to shut it. The 3 of you will be fine, Mom said. It sounded like she was trying to convince herself. Absolutely fine. You have each other. Oh, look, There's the bus. Henry. Sorry. Hurry. Jess looked down at his sister and felt like we were coming to understand the same thing at the same time. Mom doesn't want us asking questions. Mom doesn't want to explain anything. Jess stumbled down the porch steps and blindly aimed his feet towards the driveway, down to the bus. He kept his head down as if he didn't trust his legs to move without her watching. And maybe it was that he didn't trust his head not to swivel back towards Mom and the rest of his body to follow. Once he reached the bus, he went to the very back seat, and only then did he turn to look back towards the house and Mom. Mom stood still in the doorway, her face frozen in attempt at a smile. She kept waving and waving and waving, as though she believed she'd never see Finn and Emma and Chess again. Alright. Those were a little bit longer, so we read chapters 7 through 10, and we'll find out what's really going on with Mom, and how is this going to work out with Mrs. Morales.